Thank you, councillors, directors, managers, members of the clergy, the press, one and all. Welcome to the Temora Shire Council meeting for February. I declare that meeting open. This meeting is being recorded and will be placed on Temora Shire Council's webpage for public information. All present today are reminded that while speaking you are agreeing to your view and comments being recorded and published. You're also reminded that if or when speaking you are to be respectful to others and use appropriate language. Temora Shire Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures during this council meeting. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen here at Temora Shire Council, but it's in red writing. I have to read it. Councillors, as is the tradition of Temora Shire Council, we commence our meeting with our opening prayer, and that is in the hands of the Reverend Nathan Manwaring, who is the rector at St Paul's Anglican Church, but is also the chairman of the Temora Christian Leaders Group. So a warm welcome to you, Reverend Manwaring. You might like to come forward, Councillor Winky or Councillor McLaren might loan you their microphone. If you could please lead us in our opening prayer. Thank you.
Our gracious God, loving Heavenly Father, thank you for the preparation that councillors and management have done for this meeting. Please give each person clarity of speech, alertness and patience to listen carefully, and wisdom to make decisions that are best for the people of this Shire. We pray for our representatives in State and Federal Parliament, Stephanie Cook and Michael McCormick. Strengthen them for the demands of their roles. May their work bear fruit. Lord, we thank you for your steadfast love for us. May the love and care that we've experienced from you be shown also for one another. We thank you for the privilege of living and serving in the friendly Shire, a welcoming place where we celebrate one another's successes and offer help in hard times. We thank you for our community's donations towards the Mayor's bushfire appeal, and we ask for wisdom for Snowy Valleys Council in distributing the funds. We thank you for the rain that we've experienced this month, and we ask for more rain where it's needed. Bless the land of our farmers, that we may receive its produce to sustain our community and give you thanks with grateful hearts. We ask this through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. You look quite good sitting there between Councillors Winky and McLaren. Could be Councillor Manwaring. No, thanks very much, Reverend. We're just so grateful, and it's always a special way to start our meeting. Thank you. You are welcome to stay, Reverend, but I know you have other commitments as well. Thank you. Councillors, do we have any apologies? I think we have a full house, which is great. Thank you. Any declaration of any interest at this time, please? Councillor Smith.
One on the Rainbow Ball, and there's one in Confidential.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. I just have a non-pecuniary in relation to correspondence from the Temora West Public School. The Deputy Mayor.
I also have one in Confidential.
Thank you. No further declaration at this time. We have no public presentations. Councillors, I'd like a motion to confirm the minutes of our January meeting of Temora Shire Council, please. Councillor Smith, you have moved that way. Seconded, Councillor Slay. Moved and seconded. I will put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillors, any business arising, Mr. General Manager?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Let's move on, councillors, to the mayoral minute. Number 1, which you should have on loose leaf pages. I place on record council's warm congratulations to all nominees for the recent Citizen, Young Citizen and Event of the Year award categories. A special mention to our Citizen of the Year, Mr. Graham Singh, a Young Citizen of the Year, Mr Corey Bradley, and Event of the Year, the All Saints Community Church Rededication Springdale. Every one of these individuals and organisations work tirelessly to ensure Temora Shire remains a strong, vibrant and caring community. I also acknowledge our Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, who also acts as the Chairman of our Straight Council, the hard-working Secretary, Mrs Beth Thurman, and the dedicated Treasurer, Councillor Oliver, and all members of the committee. Their efforts are appreciated by us all. Council will be delighted to learn the General Manager, Mr Lavelle, and I went to Tumut on Wednesday and formally presented the proceeds of our recent Mayor's Bushfire appeal. A total of $34,329.35 has been donated by our citizens, businesses, sporting and service clubs, which is a staggering amount, particularly given the dry times we're currently experiencing. Every dollar donated will be used to assist those in the Community Foundation for the Tumut region. This goes right across the Snowy Valleys region, which lost their homes during the recent bushfire tragedy. On behalf of councillors and staff, I warmly thank everyone who has made this significant donation possible. Council are advised we have the turning of the first sod at Narrabri Lodge tomorrow. The Deputy Prime Minister and Federal Member for Riverina, the Honourable Michael McCormack, will be on hand to carry out the honours. The Deputy Prime Minister will also be at the Council Chambers to officially launch the Riverina Joint Organisation Board's Farm Household Allowance Program brochure. The General Manager, Mr Lavelle, and I are working with his office for some time to discuss with him Council's Temora Swimming Pool and Arts Precinct master plans. Council are advised the General Manager and I will be in Sydney late next week. This will be to meet the New South Wales Electoral Commission's Director of Customer Service and Relations, Mr Steve Robb. This meeting will be to discuss the lack of pre-poll voting facilities at our state elections. We'll also be holding our Riverina Eastern Regional Organisation of Councils and Riverina JO board meetings to be held at Parliament House. Several state ministers will be guest speakers, with our state member, Ms Steph Cook MP, kindly arranging the ministerial meetings. Council are reminded of the current independent review of REROC and the RivJo boards, which is currently taking place by Morrison Lowe. This review, as requested by both boards, has already conducted a survey to all councillors and staff of our member councils. The mayors and general managers have also met with the reviewers, either in person or via teleconference. The reviewers will have an initial draft report to both boards mid-March, which Mr Greg Smith of Morrison Lowe will present. Then a final report will be furnished to members of both boards, with a recommendation being presented to all member councils, who will ultimately determine our way forward. And I inform Council that as of last Friday, Wagga City Council were gazetted as full members of the Riverina Joint Organisation. And finally, councillors, I inform Council we are currently in discussions with New South Wales Member for Cootamundra, Ms Steph Cook MP, regarding the official opening of several completed Stronger Country Communities grant projects. The General Manager and I have also formally requested a meeting with Ms Cook to present master plans of both the Temora Swimming Pool and the Arts Precinct. And further that, the date for those openings is set for Wednesday the 11th of March, and invitations are currently being drawn up for that. So Councillors' recommendation that the mayoral minute be noted, and as Mayor I move that mayoral minute. Is there a seconder for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Winkie. Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Councillor Judd.
Question on line 3, the JO's farm roll allowance program. Can you elaborate on that, please?
That is a brochure that the subcommittee of the Riverina JO board has put together. And actually, I think the executive assistant has bulk of those. All councillors were given a copy of those brochures. So if you don't recall having received one, we do have some others that we can give to you, but it just is an easy outline of what is available to our farming communities across the Riverina JO footprint about what options that there are available in terms of support that they may need, both in financial terms and health terms also. So that will be launched tomorrow, but we can have a copy of the brochure in front of you now. If Mrs. Rands, if you're able to ask one of the girls to bring them, thank you. Thanks, Councillor Judd. Did you have your microphone on? No. Whoops. I know, councillors, we only do this once a month, but yes, we'll just remember to press the button. Sorry, I should have reminded you. If there's no further discussion on the mayoral minute, I will put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, let's now proceed to your business paper. And on page 11, we have the Temora Shire Council's Youth Advisory Committee, and Councillor Slay is the chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I move that the council note the report.
Report be received.
That the report be received.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Slay. Is there a seconder for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Oliver. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillor Slay.
Thank you. The report reads well by itself. There's no need to go through most of the issues there. I just continue to find this particular activity a very, very exciting one, because they keep coming up with more new ideas and putting them into practice. I particularly draw your attention, though, to page 14, item 3.2, where collectively the donors these are people who are supporting the youth group, have contributed $16,000, and then that will also be added to some funding from Temora Shire Council to allow for the redevelopment of Platform Y. And the opening of the redeveloped Platform Y took place on Monday, and unfortunately I was unable to be there. But the effort that these people are putting in, the young people themselves and their gifted leadership group, is something that should get us all excited here in Temora Shire.
Thanks very much, Councillor Slay. Like you, Councillor Slay, I was a late scratching for that event, unfortunately, but I understand several councillors were able to attend, and the Deputy Mayor was certainly present. He's made me aware of it. He perhaps may mention his experience and the reflections of that time with us a little later. Councillors, are there any questions or comments in relation to the Youth Advisory Committee's report? If not, is someone prepared to move the adoption of that report and its recommendations? Councillor Smith, Councillor Slay, moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, I will put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, over to page 20 of the Scholarship and Careers Committee of Temora Shire Council, and Councillor Slay is the chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the report be received.
Thank you. Seconder, thank you, Councillor Winkie. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillor Slay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The meeting discussed one issue, and that was the operational plan for 2019-20. More work has to be done on this particular document. Council hasn't discussed it as a whole, and so the recommendation comes from the committee that we recommend to Council that a report be presented to a future meeting on current vocational training activities undertaken by Council. It is very clear to the members who are present that Council is already doing a great deal. We just want to make sure that there's no areas that are being missed, and therefore it seemed appropriate that we have a detailed investigation about exactly what is being provided in various ways by the Temora Shire Council to encourage local students. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Slay. Councillors, any comments, questions? If not, there is the report and the recommendation there as articulated by the chairman of that committee. Someone prepared to move that direction? Councillor Reinhardt, thank you. Councillor McLaren, moved and seconded. Further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. And declare the motion carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Councillors, we proceed to page 26, the minutes of Council's Assets and Operations Committee, and the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, is the chairman.
Move the report we received.
Thank you. There's a motion to move that the report's received. Second, Councillor Winkie, moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. The Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, nothing at this stage.
Thank you. Councillors, any comments, questions in relation to the Assets and Operations Committee report? Had quite a bit on their agenda. If not, I think, councillors, on page 60, the Teal Street landfill opening hours, I do think that was good. I note the recommendation there that is to retain the current opening hours, but I do commend the committee and council for at least considering that again. From time to time, I think it's healthy to do so, and the director certainly agrees with that as well. Any other comments in the relation to assets and operations? If not, is someone prepared to move the recommendations and the report? Please, Councillor Winkie, move that. Second, Deputy Mayor, moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, we now proceed to page 68, and that is delegates' reports. Councillors, do we have any delegates' reports, please? The Deputy Mayor. Button.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. The Australia Day was a very successful day. The move to a morning certainly pleased a lot of people. A lot of favourable comments. As you already said, that pointed out the Citizen of the Year was Mr. Graham Singh, and the junior was Corey Bradley. Both, I think, were very, very pleased to and surprised to get their awards. So, but no, the day went off very well. Did have a lake committee week before last, I think. They didn't really have a quorum, I don't think, but there's sort of a bit of a discussion about the lake and water levels and so forth. But that's all gone by the board now because it's got plenty of water in, so which is very good to see. And also, I was one of the councillors who did attend the youth hall reopening, I guess. And they did have a lot of activities planned for the day for the general manager and the mayor. Unfortunately, the mayor must have got wind of it and chickened out. So
No, I didn't get wind of it.
I had to take his place and do my part as playing Cinderella in a skit, which it's quite funny, I'm sure, for everyone watching it. So, but, they're kicking a lot of goals up there, those young people. So it's good to see. It's good to be part of it.
Thanks, Mr. Deputy Mayor. And no, I didn't actually get wind of it. I actually thought I'd take the opportunity to catch up on reading these papers. So I was a reluctant scratching, but perhaps if I had have known that, I may not have been a reluctant scratching. But anyway, thanks so much, Mr. Deputy Mayor, for that. Further delegates' reports. Councillor Winkie.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I was also at the White Platform opening on Monday. It was a brilliant afternoon, but I think we're going to have to send our General Manager off for some driving lessons. He certainly didn't hold our end of the deal up with the car race in the afternoon. We're quite disappointed with his performance, actually.
Well, that's consistent, Councillor Winky.
But no, it was a great afternoon, and look, hats off to what's going on up there with the leaders and also the kids. They're really a great asset for our community. They really are, and it's just wonderful to see. It's great to see that the different things that they're learning with hospitality and whatnot, and it's great, but I think we've got to get a better dress for our Deputy Mayor too as well. He looked very much like a Cinderella to me on the day. The other meeting I went to too was with the Christian Leaders Group, met with the Mayor last Thursday afternoon. We had a wonderful discussion both ways, and it was really interesting to hear, I think hopefully for the Mayor, to what each of the churches, Christian churches, are doing in Temora. And just also to hopefully see the unity that we have in that group, and our willingness to do what we do in our community. So it was another great afternoon as well, and we thank you for having us there every year. Appreciate that, and it's a good thing to keep going if we can.
Thanks very much, Councillor Winky. I warmly thank you and Councillor Slade for making time. I know other councillors had other commitments, and we passed that on to our Christian leadership team. But for those that were able to be there, it was, as you said, Councillor Winky, it's I think very important that they play an important role one way or the other in our community, and it's just remarkable to sit and listen, you know, with the inspiring work that they do in their own, not just within their own parish, but also outreaching in the community. And I think it's important that we remember that. So thank you very much. Further delegates' reports, councillors. Councillor Slade. Button, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As Councillor Winky has mentioned, the Christian Leaders Group met, and it was a very affirming sort of a operation. What is most apparent from my point of view in looking at the Christian leaders is that even in those communities where the numbers are dwindling, the enthusiasm seems to be able to be maintained, and this is partly because these different groups get together. Different congregational groups will unite for weekend services and that sort of thing. There's none of this isolationism that I think was so common in churches and still is in some places. We're very lucky here in Temora to have what we've got. So I think that that's been a special privilege. And the other point was about the Arts Work Party, the people who took part at the working party that's building and designing the plan. It was again very refreshing to walk out of that meeting and to see the level of unanimity between the participating councillors and cultural devotees. I think that we've come a long way in the last few months, and I'm looking forward to some very positive outcomes coming from the development of an arts centre later in town. That would be it, Mr Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Slade. And just in relation to that, I endorse your remarks and thank again the members of the Working Party for the Arts Precinct Master Plan that Council will consider in closed session later in the meeting. But it was just impressive to see how everyone's working together in a genuine and considered way to get to what is presented to Council tonight. And I think that it's certainly been a positive process thus far, that's for sure, and to get what we've achieved is a credit to all involved. We go now to Councillor Reinhold for delegates' reports. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Right, I've got my Women's Network cap on at the moment. We've got International Women's Day coming up celebrating it on Sunday the 8th of March at the Golf Club. We've got local speakers, Cindy Cassidy and Ali Swanston. We're having several lucky door prizes to support local businesses. Should be a really good afternoon. The Fruit Fly Committee, we met on Tuesday night to plan our year ahead. Thank you to the Director of Environmental Services. We applied for $1,000 to continue our advertising and our free traps. Also, just want to thank the Australia Day Committee for donating the leftover produce to the community centre. It's been put to good use. It was the tea, coffee and leftover bacon and eggs. So thank you very much. Excellent.
Thanks very much, Councillor Reinhold. And we do have to commend the Tamora's Fight the Fruit Fly Committee for the work that they do. And I know, Councillor Slough, I think you used to sit on that committee and get tongue-tied. But at the same time, we do have to acknowledge the great work that they do. They are, I say, there's quite achievers in our community, and they're, I think, among them. So thank you so much for sharing their achievements with us. Further delegates' reports, councillors. Just a question to the Deputy Mayor. Are you going to Sydney to the board meeting next week? Right, so you're on apology. Right, okay, thank you. Councillors, if there's no further delegates' reports, we proceed over to page 69 of your business paper, the Mayor's report for the month of January. And there's a recommendation on page 71 that the Mayor's report be noted, please. Councillor Smith, thank you. Second to Councillor Slay. Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Over to page 72, staff reports. Is there a motion to receive staff reports, please? Thank you. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Slay, moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. We now proceed to page 73, which is the General Manager's Report, 10.1, Calendar of Events. The General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The calendar of events is there for Council's information.
Thank you. Councillors, there's a recommendation there. Councillor Oliver, you'll move the recommendation. Seconded, Councillor Reinhold. Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, I will put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you. Over to page 74, 10.2, seals. The General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, this is seals for the month of February. Just a note, though, that the second one, lot 53, has been withdrawn, so it's just for the one seal for lot 55.
Thank you. So, councillors, that's if you just delete lot 53, excuse me, and just for that lot 55 at 14 Spitfire Drive. The Deputy Mayor, you'll move the recommendation that the seal be affixed. Seconded, Councillor Winkie. Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillors, over to page 75 of the business paper, 10.3, Local Government Conference, the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Gee, this sounds a long way off, October, and there's an election in between, but at this stage we're supposed to nominate our voting delegate and nominate the number of attendees to the conference. What our policy says is that the Mayor, Deputy Mayor and General Manager and other councillors at Council can decide. So you can leave those positions. I don't know that we actually have to, we can put the names in, but they can be changed because of the positions.
Thank you. So, councillors, you can, if you wish, just have that the Mayor, the Deputy Mayor, the General Manager and other councillors as deemed appropriate, because obviously it is a long way down the trail. Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I think that's appropriate, just the Mayor, the General Manager and the Deputy Mayor, whoever they might be, and we can work the other stuff out later, I suppose. Do you need to actually nominate
The individual.
the numbers other than those three that might want to attend or not?
Well, I didn't think so. The General Manager?
Look, I think there's some flexibility, but it's a pretty fair indication of, if you look at past practices, there's been 4 from council, 1 councillor, deputy mayor, mayor and general manager, so or their delegates. So I think you can pretty well assume that that's going to be a similar case.
But again, the new council of the day can, revisit that if they so choose anyway, but it's broad anyway. So, Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll just move that be the case then.
Thank you. So that we nominate the Mayor as the voting delegate, and other attendees include the Deputy Mayor, the General Manager or his representative, and other councillors as required.
Yes, that's good enough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seconded, Councillor McLaren, moved and seconded. Further discussion? How's it? So moved and seconded, happy with what's on the screen, please? Okay, I'll put them, Councillor Stay, you're looking worried, and that's worrying me. Councillor Slade.
Sorry, Mr Mayor, I'm getting a little bit of a vibe here that we would like a definite total number. We don't have to have definite total names.
So you're suggesting
I'm
and one
suggesting
other
that
councillor?
that just be
Yes.
the one other councillor.
Okay, yep, no, fair point. Councillor Oliver and Councillor McLaren, are you happy to make that amendment plus one other councillor?
Yes, Mr Mayor.
Yeah. Thanks, Councillor McLaren, Councillor Oliver. Thank you. I defer to the General Manager.
Just to note, Mr Mayor, that in the past we've changed delegates right up until the last minute. I think they're fairly flexible. I think they just need an indication at this stage.
But that's tidy. There's a 14 delegation. Okay, thank you. If there's no further discussion, I will put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, over to page 76, 10.4, the September council meeting, the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, as you can see, our council meeting for September 2020 is currently set down for the 17th of September, with the election just prior to that. We've suggested there that it be put back to the 24th of September. However, today the Electoral Office put out a document which you would see, which indicates that the close of the date for the declaration of the poll is actually the 25th. So it's quite a difficult situation because if it does happen on the 25th, obviously the 24th's out. But even the 1st of October, in that instance, it's with new councillors coming on, it's a bit unfair on them to be elected and then a couple of days later straight into a council meeting without any briefing or anything. So whether there's various suggestions on how that can be dealt with. They include having a joint September-October meeting, but of course there's issues with that too, because the mayor would remain mayor until the next general election, which would be later. Or you can have October as the September meeting, which possibly on the 1st of October, just to elect, not actually a business meeting, but just to elect mayor, deputy mayor and appoint committees. And then have 2 weeks later the October meeting, which would be a full business meeting. So it's not too hard on the new councillors. They'd have more than a couple of days to get their head around what's happening.
Thank you. Councillors, what's your wish? I have to say from the outset, it seems to make sense to me. I'm particularly interested in Councillor Judd's views to to have elections of your mayor, deputy and delegates and committees on the 1st of October, get that in place, then have your business meeting for October the 15th at our normal time. And that's just how I feel. Councillor McLaren.
I'm inclined to, like, even the voting of the mayor and the committee roles needs some experience to know what you're committing for. So I'm inclined to have some sort of induction in those between the 25th and the 15th of October, and maybe just incorporate the election in that meeting on the 15th of October.
Thank you, Councillor McLaren. Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. With a lot of the stuff in the business paper, it's already dealt with by the committees like assets and ops and one thing and another by experienced councillors of the day. Could it be that some of that stuff be ratified by the new council, perhaps,
Well,
on that perhaps 1st of October?
thanks, Councillor Winky. Well, that brings us to, there will have to be, I suppose, well, there can't be committee, I suppose there can be. Yeah, there can be committee days, General Manager.
Yeah, I would imagine that the normal committee day would occur on
Thank you.
in September, which I haven't got a calendar in front of me, but on the normal committee day. But then there would be an election, and then the council would consider those committee resolutions at the first council meeting.
Thank you. We'll go to Councillor Winky.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Could we have it that week earlier for that meeting? To bring it back to
the 8th.
8th, is it? 8th? No, yeah, the 8th, yeah.
So the 8th of October,
Yep.
you mean to elect committees, mayor, deputy?
No,
Sorry.
To have your normal September meeting a week earlier.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
So that, because you're still dealing with all your issues that have been passed at a committee week, a day,
Yep.
and deal with that, and then it still gives you time to sort of induct and, as Councillor McLaren said, to induct and inform a new council or new council members before the October meeting.
Right, thank you. Councillor Winky, that's, General Manager, do you have a view on that?
I just want to check what the Act says. I think it says the September meeting. I believe it says the September meeting must be the meeting where the annual general meeting's held or the office bearers are elected. So I'll just check that.
Thank you. While the General Manager is checking that important information, are there any other comments from councillors in relation to this? It is important that we consider this very, very carefully. Councillor Judd.
As a side issue, I think it's pretty disappointing that the Electoral Commission cannot declare until the 25th, and that's nearly 2 weeks after the election. You know, in past, you know, when our local council used to conduct elections, we could do it in a few days later, but you know, and I think that's very disappointing, and I reckon I'd like to see that we express our concern about that delay, you know. It's
Yeah, Councillor Judd, I agree. I think you put it actually a lot more mildly than perhaps some of us would have. I think it's very ordinary, to be frank. I really do. However, I suppose we've got to play with the hand we're dealt with, but that doesn't mean we can't take advantage of the time we have with Mr Robb from the Electoral Commission when we are meeting with him face to face, that if that's something that our council believes is very, very ordinary, then we need to relay that. And I'm just seeing nods around the chamber that it's something that we do need to express.
like, it's a pity that it can't be that all elections declared no later than the 25th or something, so that, you know, if councils are all finished within a week or something, you know, they should be able to declare the first lot, you know, straight away, but
That's right.
all wait until the 25th, you know, that's a, you know, like that puts a lot of you know, standing for election for anyone is a very stressful time. And you should get it over and done with as quickly as possible, you know. It's,
That's right, because those that are elected, they've got a significant journey to embark on, particularly in those, you know, the early period of learning, and those that are not elected, then they also need to be aware so they can make, you know, the necessary adjustments to their life as well. So yeah, you're quite right. It's very ordinary. The General Manager is going to vacate the chamber temporarily just to further chase up the advice on that one. So, councillors, what we might do is we will just lay that matter on the table and we'll come back to 10.4. And we'll go over to page 77, 10.5, the Operational Plan Review 2019-2020. There is a report there and a recommendation that the review be adopted. Are there any comments or questions in relation to that review? Councillors, I did ask the General Manager in relation to the Road Safety Officer's role for an update on where that is at, and there is currently a job description in with the RMS, or Transport for New South Wales, as I think we're supposed to call them, T little f capital NSW, and we...
3 weeks. That's been with the RMS for 3 weeks, and we're waiting for reply.
Thank you. Councillor Judd.
is there any indication from the other three councils whether they're willing to go forward with it as previous arrangements?
Well, I understand, Councillor Judd, that they have they've worked together to combine with this revised job description of the RSO, and there's a couple of points that the General Manager suggests may be a stumbling block. But, you know, to be frank, 3 weeks, I think, you know, is a little bit disappointing. I just would have thought for an important position such as that, that would have been a priority for them. Admittedly, I know they've got a lot of other things on their plate, but we're without a road safety officer, our shire, and plus have the other two shires as well, and I don't think that's very good. But anyway, we are going to chase it up, by the way, councillors, because, yeah, 3 weeks is 3 weeks. Okay, any other comments or questions in relation to the operational plan review? Councillor Reinhold.
Yes, Mr Mayor, thank you. On page 139, Update Street Christmas decorations.
Yes.
I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but really they are so daggy.
Yes, at least, Councillor Reinhold, it's in the plan, so that's a big tick.
Yes.
But you'd just like a little bit more of an update from the from the manager in relation to that. Thank you.
That would be lovely, thank you.
The manager?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. So we have been looking into the replacement of decorations, and we've done a bit of a look through of what assets we have out there, and there's 32, and currently we've got about 16,000 or 15,000 in the budget, and they cost about 2,500 each to replace new. So I think I'm going to bring a report back to council just around options to maybe not replace all of them and to replace a cross section and maybe refurbish some. But yeah, it's not as simple as first thought, and it's very expensive.
Thank you very much. Councillor Reinhold, are you happy with that? So we will wait for a report. Councillors, there's no further comment or question in relation to the operation plan review. There is a recommendation, page 77, that it be adopted. The Deputy Mayor, thank you, has moved that way. Second, Councillor Winkie. Thank you, moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Is the General Manager ready to go back to 10.4 of the September Council meeting?
Yes, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. The General Manager.
So essentially what the Act says under Section 290 is that the Mayor has to be elected at the first council meeting after the general election and within 3 weeks of the general election. So, when's the election?
The 12th.
So, yes, so it has to be, the meeting has to be held by the 3rd of October.
Okay. Well, the Deputy Mayor. Sorry, Councillor McLaren, I beg your pardon.
Just a question, does it have to be on the Thursday evening? Could it be Wednesday the 30th of September? Given that we've got one in October on the 15th. Just a question.
Thank you, Councillor McLaren. Wednesday the 30th, I don't know what other councillors' commitments are, but we're all got to assume that we're going to be re-elected, and let's not be confident, but we have to look at it in those eyes at the moment. The General Manager?
Yeah, the establishment of the day of the election is done by council. So that's part of our code of meeting practice, and that can be changed for a one-off instance as long as it's advertised as per the normal advertising of meetings.
So, Councillor McLaren, are you suggesting that the Wednesday, September 30 is a normal September council meeting, and then we have the normal September meeting on the 15th of October?
I don't have a preference, but if you have it on the 1st of October, it'll be called the September meeting held on the 1st of October.
Yes.
It's a bit odd. But anyway, and also it only gives you the 28th and the 29th to do any sort of induction training if you want to train new candidates to, perform.
That's true. And a lot of pressure on others, but again, we've got to tease this out properly in a considered way, and that's what we're doing. The General Manager?
Could I also suggest that the Electoral Commission says that the declaration of the polls will occur by the 28th. It's highly likely that it will be substantially before that, but we can't assume that because if they do hold it back, then we're caught. But certainly the 1st of October would fit within that time frame if you want to have it 2 weeks before the meeting.
Okay, councillors, well, I have to, personally, I would have thought that, I think that Wednesday the 30th of September would be an appropriate time for the September council meeting, and then we continue as normal, or the new council will continue as normal with the third Thursday, if that's what they choose to do. The Deputy Mayor?
Mr Mayor, I'll move that way.
Okay, you'll move that way, that Wednesday, September the 30th, be the September council meeting for Temora Shire, which will be the first meeting of the new Temora Shire Council, and the October meeting, I suppose really that's up to the new council what they wish to do. So the September meeting, Wednesday the 30th of September. Seconded, Councillor Slay. Moved and seconded. Is further discussion? If not, I will put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare that motion carried. Thank you very much, and it's important to get that right. Councillors, we now proceed over to page 160, 10.6, the integrated planning and reporting OP&R, the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, this is just to get to run past you the process for the integrated planning and reporting this year. In September 2020, as we've just discussed, we have a general election, and so 2021 year will be a full consultation process where we'll get outside people in to talk to all groups in the community. But so this year will be more of a refresh, look at existing documents, add the referrals that have come from council, applications from the public or requests from the public, and then have a council workshop in late March where council will have the opportunity also to put input into that, and then I'm suggesting in mid-April, we have public meetings to let people have their say on the operational plan and the integrated reporting, with the intention of an initial budget meeting at the end of April. So that, and then adoption of after it goes out, put it out for public comment after the May meeting. And then in June, the adoption after we take into account submissions. So I don't know if council is comfortable with that process, but I think it gives plenty of options for council to have input in at various stages along the way, plus the public to have their say in the draft documents.
Thank you. Councillor, generally, I mean, we're not going to get bogged down on dates and things tonight for those others, but yeah, are you generally happy with that basic framework that's there before you? Because it is important that obviously councillors, we have our opportunity to workshop in that operational plan, but also as will staff, we'll have that opportunity as well, and then we can come together and put that out to the public, and then council will then determine a way forward from there. Okay, so there is a recommendation, council, at the bottom of page 160, that that proposed time frame for that planning process be adopted. Councillor Slay has moved that way, seconded the Deputy Mayor, moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion to. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare that carried. Thank you very much. Is there anything of an urgent late nature from the General Manager, please?
No, Mr Mayor.
No, thank you. Councillors, let's go over to page 161 for the Engineering Services Report, which is nil. Nothing. Next month. Yes, yes, yes. Very organised. He'll make us pay for that next month. Anyway, no, thank you very much. Councillors, let's then go over to page 162, the Environmental Services Department Report. 12.1, the Draft Local Strategic Planning Statement. The Director.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. There's a few town planning related matters tonight, so I'll hand over to our town planner.
Thank you. The Town Planner.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So this first item is the draft Temora Shire Local Strategic Planning Statement. Councillors will recall that they considered this first in a workshop setting. This is the completed document presented for their consideration for placing on public exhibition.
Thanks very much. Councillors, the report is there and recommendation is also there for your consideration. The Deputy Mayor.
Mr Mayor, I'll move the recommendation.
Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Winkie. Councillor Oliver. I was looking at Councillor Oliver, and anyway, don't know how that happened. So, seconded by Councillor Oliver. Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, I will put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, over to page 210. 12.2, the Temora Local Environmental Plan Amendment, the Town Planner.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is the completion of the exhibition process for this amendment to rezone land at the Temora Airport. So the final document is presented to council, and if with their recommendation, it can be presented to the Department of Planning for final notification.
Thank you. Councillors, you have that report in front of you, and there is a recommendation down the bottom of page 210 for you to consider. Councillor Winkie, shall you move the recommendation? Thank you. Moved. Councillor Winkie. Is there a second for the motion, please? The Deputy Mayor, thank you. Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, I will put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very, very much indeed. Councillors, we now proceed to page 217, 12.3, Drought Communities Program Round 2, the Town Planner.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This item, council was notified that one of their proposed activities from Drought Communities Program Round 2 was deemed to be ineligible, and I'm seeking direction from council in regards to reallocation of those funds.
Thanks very much, Madam Town Planner. Councillors, the Deputy Mayor.
Mr Mayor, when we did the round 2, we ended up, I think the last amount of money was about $90,000 we allocated towards the Bundawarra Centre. Perhaps this could go with that, and it would be quite so much that council may have to put in the budget.
Yep. Thank you. That sounds reasonable. Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Oops. Councillors, any other comments or views at this point? It's a good problem to have, in a way. Councillor Judd.
Oh, disappointing that the Show Society was knocked back, but comment I got back from, they asked about, wonder what they really think that drought relief looks like, if they didn't believe in supporting that, so yeah.
Yes, that's a fair question. That's for sure. But I have to commend the General Manager, spent, I think, a great deal of time, and well, the Town Planner did too, trying to argue the case to present what this council had workshopped and considered very, very, very carefully, not just within the workshop, but in our own homes and offices, what we believe was the most effective use. But anyway, the decision's been made, and it's still going to help a heck of a lot of people and organisations within our shire. So we've had a suggestion from the Deputy Mayor about the Bundawarra Centre upgrade, that it be contributed to that. Is there anything further? Councillor McLaren.
Oh, it's probably just cheeky, but I'm wondering whether council could donate some money to that event, which is clearly a drought relief event in the Airy Park community, who have had very severe impact from the drought.
Thank you. That's another suggestion, councillors. I think Councillor McLaren did say it was cheeky, and it probably is, but at the end of the day, now's your time to speak. So, councillors, we're in your hands. There's $4,500 that needs to be reallocated. So, the Deputy Mayor.
Well, I'll move that the $4,500 go to the Bundawarra Centre.
Yep. To the works.
Yeah.
The capital works. Okay. Thank you. Second, Councillor Smith.
That, yep.
Moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? If not, I will put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Look, councillors, thank you so much for that. I know it's hard because you can argue every single one of those is important. So thank you very much. Councillors, we proceed over to page 218, 12.4, proposed dwelling entitlement Bundawarra Road, and that's in the hands of the Director. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. This is an application, seems to be relatively straightforward, but it involves a variation of council policy. So as such, it requires a decision of council, and those decisions need to be noted. It's within the 5% variance that SEP 1 allows, and the applicant has compiled quite a detailed submission that I'm recommending be supported.
Thank you very much, Mr Director. Councillor McLaren.
I think this is a reasonable request, given that the variation only came from a road inclusion back in the day. So I'd be happy to move the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor McLaren. You're moving the recommendation that's before us on page 219. Councillor Smith.
Second.
Seconded the motion. Discussion on the motion? No, if not, I will put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried unanimously. And that will be recorded, councillors, obviously how we voted, which was a unanimous decision to support the recommendation. Thank you very much. Anything further of an urgent late nature from the Director?
Nothing, Mr Mayor.
No, thank you very much. Councillors, let's now proceed to page 221, Administration and Finance Department Report, 13.1, the Quarterly Budget Review. The Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As directed, as presented.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Councillors, you see the quarterly budget review statement. I did ask the Director a question earlier in relation to, on page 226, where it has the budget changes with the cemetery northern drainage not budgeted, just to seek further clarification on that. General Manager?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I checked the situation there. There's actually, the work was completed including the drainage for under the original estimate. So whilst they were split on the ledger, they were combined as a job and they were under budget.
Okay, that's good news. So thank you for teasing that out for Council. Councillors, any other comments or questions in relation to the quarterly budget review, please? Is the Director happy with how we're tracking at this point?
It's Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Man, a few words today. No, that's fine. Councillors, if there's nothing further, there is a recommendation the Director has there for you to consider, that being that we adopt the quarterly budget review to the end of December 2019. Oh, sorry, Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll move the recommendation.
Thank you. You'll move the recommendation. Thank you. And the Deputy Mayor? Second of the motion. Thank you very much. Moved and seconded. Is any further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. Contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Anything of an urgent late nature from the Director of Finance Administration, please?
No, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, over to page 234, correspondence. 14.1, Temora West Fate. I declare non-pecuniary interest. The General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As read, the Temora West Fate wants to put a banner up in the main street and has asked that Council write those costs off or donate those costs back, which the cost is generally, in our fees and charges, is $85.
Thank you. Councillor Slay? Hang on. Councillor
Move that we go along with that proposal.
Thank you.
We waive the fee.
Thank you. Councillor Slay has moved that we accede to the request from Temora West P&C. Seconded, Councillor Winkie, moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll put the further discussion. Councillor Judd.
Will this set a precedent that we won't be virtually able to charge anyone for them putting the banner up?
Councillor Judd, well, that's a fair question, but I suppose we've been doing it for several organisations over the time, and yes, but again, it's like our Memorial Town Hall. You'll notice figures there that it's, we seem to accede to the request for all groups, but again, it's on a case-by-case basis. So, Councillor Slay?
I think that it's, if somebody has the chutzpah to make a request and we don't think that it's an obnoxious request, we go along with it, so be it. It's a one-off each time. If eventually every organisation in the town has done the same thing, then we'll have to change our policy, won't we?
Yeah. Thanks, Councillor Slay. It's been moved and seconded. If there's no further discussion, I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, over to page 236, 14.2, the Rainbow Ball. Councillor Smith is vacating the chamber as President of Can Assist, who the beneficiaries of the ball. The General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As you can see, councillors, the Rainbow Ball, who are raising funds for the Temora branch of the Can Assist organisation, has requested donations for the Rainbow Ball. Last year, as you can see, they donated $7,000 to the Can Assist branch. Last year, council considered this application and donated $200.
Thank you, Mr General Manager. Councillors, the correspondence is there for your consideration. Councillor Winkie.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that we donate another donation of $200 this year.
Thank you. Councillor Judd, second the motion. Thank you. Councillor Winkie has moved that we accede to their request of a donation of $200 for their 2020 Rainbow Ball, which the proceeds go to Can Assist Temora branch. The motion has been seconded by Councillor Judd. Is there any further discussion? If not, I will put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Thanks, Councillor Winkie. Thank you. Councillor Smith, welcome back to the chamber. During your temporary absence, Council has resolved to again donate $200 towards the running of the Temora Rainbow Ball.
I do thank the council for that, but like I said, they do a fantastic job. And there's a few girls there that have a lot of fun doing it. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Smith. That they do when you see the photos of their various costumes and so on. So thank you, Council. Now we go over to page 238, 14.3, Bushfire Relief Concert, the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is a request for the old council stage for a bushfire relief concert at Tooma. And it was made by our ex-RSO, Glenn Sheehan, who's working on this, not as in his new role, but just out of a private interest. So council, the stage is available, and it's for council to determine whether they wish to proceed.
Thank you, Mr General Manager. Councillors, the General Manager has asked me to ask you not to ask any questions about the new stage. Councillor Winkie.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Maybe the terminology should be the current stage that we've got, and I presume that it'll be picked up. We don't have to deliver it or pick it up again. Is that correct? Do we do?
General Manager, or Question without notice, the General Manager.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr Mayor. I haven't checked with him on that, but I'm hoping that someone will pick it up. But I think you should take into account both eventualities. If council will deliver it, if the other doesn't occur.
Sorry. Deputy Mayor, would you like to, if Councillor Winky, you have something else to add? If the Deputy Mayor can just take off, yeah, thanks. I know that puts you back in the queue. And Councillor Councillor Winky.
That being the case, then I'd be happy to move if we didn't have any expense in it being picked up and brought back again, that we concede their request for the
And
current,
at no cost.
mobile stage.
At no cost? Yeah, okay. Councillor Winky has moved that way that we accede to their request of the current mobile stage, which has been referred to as the old mobile stage. Seconder for the motion, please. Councillor McLaren, thank you. Moved and seconded. And further discussion, the General Manager, I think it is probably appropriate that you do give a very brief update on where the new stage is up to, please, in discussion on the motion. General Manager.
The stage is closer to being ready to use than it was last meeting. It's there have been attempts to fix it, but apparently the hardware that was sent wasn't suitable, and they're now working with the company who develops the RAMs that it uses to fix the problem.
Thank you. Well, I'm sure that you will keep pushing hard on that matter, and I just can't quite believe it. But anyway, it is what it is. Councillor Judd.
A bit concerned about this one because we have knocked back similar worthwhile requests in the past to go out of the Shire, and seeing this is still our only operating mobile stage, I was a bit worried about if something goes wrong with this one, well, we're stuffed.
Well, not to put too fine a point on it, Councillor Judd, yes, you're right. That's a fair comment. And again, discussing the motion, we now defer to Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. We have a policy on renting out the stage. What does it say about going outside our LGA? So, and this is 233 kilometres away up into the hills, so quite a arduous journey. I imagine as long as the insurances are in place, but we have to follow our policy.
Thanks, Councillor McLaren. The General Manager, do you have any comments in relation to that, please?
This is whether the stage is capable of taking. Yeah, look, it's mechanically it's A1.
That's true, but in terms of the policy, in terms of the current policy that we have in relation to the stage, the existing stage.
The new stage has a policy that we do not allow it out of the area. The previous policy, which related to the old stage, was that it could go out to a neighbouring council, which Snowy Valley I know technically isn't, but it's certainly within our footprint.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that, Mr General Manager. Further discussion on, pardon me, the motion, Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Given the use it's going to be used for, I don't really have a problem with them taking it up there and bringing it back at their cost. It's a good cause. There's been so much money raised in the past for this, and if they continue to keep raising money, well, all the better for those who will benefit from it, so I don't have an issue with it.
Thanks, Councillor Oliver. Councillors, further comments on the motion before you? The Deputy Mayor.
Yes, I agree with Councillor Oliver. I think this is, there's been a lot of damage done up there, and anything we can do to help people's state of mind at least, I think it's just a small part of what we can do to help. So. right behind it.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. I now go to Councillor Slay.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I see absolutely no point in having a policy if we're going to change it the first time we're asked to look at it. However, having said that, I believe that the General Manager has summed up very accurately what the policy is. The policy is that the new stage cannot be used outside our LGA. This is not relevant. They're not looking for the new policy for that. I can understand also that in the inimitable manner in which the councillor from Area Park has expressed it, we would find ourselves in some difficulty. I think they were his words. If this one also got mucked up. But no, I think I would feel comfortable that they were still adhering to our old policy, to our policy about the new vehicle. The only thing is I would put in a plea, a very sincere plea, that somebody chase this up. We have now heard, I think, at 3, possibly 4 consecutive meetings that the wrong piece has come. Surely somewhere along the line, unless we're going to be waiting for this, forever and a day, I think I'd want to hear a better answer next meeting from the suppliers as to why we haven't had that done. But in terms of the actual motion, I think we should go ahead, as Councillor Oliver has indicated. No expense to us. We make it available to the people of Tumour.
Thank you very much, Councillor Slay, and I appreciate your words, which has just further enhanced the words that the General Manager and I have had privately in relation to chasing this issue up. I do acknowledge, I must say, that the General Manager has been doing that. However, he needs now to indicate that Council as a whole is not impressed, and I'm sure that he can pass those words on. Thank you, the General Manager.
Well, with all due respect, Mr Mayor, the business that makes the RAMs that they need would close over December, January, and I don't think even Temora Shire Council's request will make them go back to work.
That's just a minor technicality. But still, thank you. At least it gives you, Mr General Manager, something to go back to them and say that, all of Council would like this expedited. Councillor McLaren.
I'd like to move that we agree to the request to donate the use of the old stage to the
We've
bushfire.
already got a motion.
Oh, we already have a motion?
You've
I
seconded
apologise.
it. Actually, Councillor Winky and Councillor McLaren has seconded it, yeah. I know we have gone on in terms of the discussion. We have, but again, we've heard, Councillor Judd raised, I think, a fair point that needed teasing out. So we thank you. We thank you for that. No further discussion? If not, I will now put the motion to you, which is on your screen, that we accede to the request. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, let's now proceed to page 241, 14.4, event application, the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is the Hearing Australia bus, which has been here before. Not a very big bus, it's just a...
Town market, sorry. 14.4.
Okay.
Right.
I'm a step ahead of myself.
You are, which makes for a nice change.
So the town markets, we have an application to hold town markets on Sunday the 8th of March by a local person. She's requesting the use of Callaghan Park for the market stalls for a 4-hour period in there. There's no cost to council, and we'll ensure that insurances are in place.
Oh, great. I just thank you, Mr General Manager, for that last comment, because I noticed that there wasn't any insurance policy details ticked on the application form. So obviously, that wouldn't proceed unless that was the case. Councillors, you've heard what the General Manager said. You've read the report. What is Council's wish? Councillor, the Deputy Mayor.
I'll move we accede to the request.
Thank you.
Callaghan Park.
Thanks very much.
I'll second
Councillor
that.
Oliver,
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll second that.
you'll second the motion. The Deputy Mayor has moved that we accede to the request from Mrs Smith for the Temora Town Markets. Seconded Councillor Oliver. Is there any further discussion on the motion?
Just note that they're no relation that I know of.
No, duly noted, Councillor Smith. Thank you. If there's no further discussion, councillors, I will put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare that motion carried. Thank you. We proceed to 246, 14.5. Now, the Hearing Australia bus.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, this is a request from to have the Hearing Australia bus down in Paleface Park. As I said, it has happened before. It's not a very big bus. It's only a little mini bus thing that parks in Paleface Park and provides a free service from the Australian Government.
Thank you, Mr General Manager. Councillors, what is your wish? I'm not seeing anything flashing. The Deputy Mayor.
I'll move go with the recommendation.
Thank you. So you move that we accede to the request?
Yes.
Thank you. Seconded Councillor Slay. Moved and seconded further the Deputy Mayor.
Mr Mayor, maybe the General Manager could check out the rams on the awning on the bus.
Now. Just had Christmas. It's not the spirit. Good point, though. Any further discussion of a serious nature? If not, I will put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Over to page 248, 14.6, Australian Government Mobile Service Centre.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, apologies from the people involved in this too. They have been sort of touring bushfire areas, and they overlooked sending this application in. And as you can see, it's very close next week. It has been parked where they've requested outside the community centre before, providing information on a whole range of government services, including drought services. So it's quite an important visit from the Australian Government.
Thanks, Mr General Manager. Councillors, the report is there for your consideration. Councillor Slay. Thank you. So you move that we accede to the request. Councillor Winkie has seconded the motion. Thank you. Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, I will put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare that motion carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Councillors, there is a late item of correspondence that you should have in loose leaf entitled Foodies Night Markets. 14.7, the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, all this is a change of date. They originally requested the 28th of February, it's a Friday afternoon, and they've now asked that be moved to Sunday the 1st of March.
Thank you. Councillors, the correspondence is in your hands. Obviously, we had approved it, but being a date change, Council has to approve that, and also the extra bins, which again will be at no cost to Council. Councillor Winkie.
Yeah, I move the request be made.
Thank you. So move that we accede to the date adjustment and the bins to be charged out as per the fees and charges. Thank you. Second to Councillor McLaren. Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, I will put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Mr General Manager, is there any other correspondence of an urgent late nature, please?
No, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillors, we proceed to page 251 of your business paper. There are no notices of motion. Therefore, we proceed to business without notice. And I start with Councillor Reinhold.
Nothing, Mr Mayor.
Nothing. Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. We proceed to Councillor Oliver.
No, nothing, neither, Mr Mayor.
No, thank you. Councillor Winky.
No, nothing for me.
Nothing. Thanks, Councillor Winky. Councillor McLaren.
Just something, one of the shopfront windows was smashed by a truck going around that roundabout near the Roundabout Bakery, like one of the corner windows recently. And I recently found out that a business proprietor in that area, was hit by a rock in the middle of her chest that was flicked up by a truck going around that roundabout. She said it felt like a bullet. So I'm just wondering, is there an issue of loose stones around that roundabout, or the speed of trucks going around that roundabout, or something? It seems like two incidences, maybe there's an issue there.
Thank you, Councillor McLaren. I hope that the incidences you've raised, that those involved have reported those to council, so that because we do have incident reports, of course. So I hope that has happened. I'll defer to the engineering technical manager.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. There's definitely no issue with loose stones. It's an asphalt surface, so very few loose stones. Potentially, trucks could be travelling around there at increased speed, but it's sort of not under our power to regulate that. To be honest, I've never heard of any similar complaint in the last 10 years that I've been involved, but that's about all I've got at this point.
Oh, it wasn't raised with me for me to pass on. I'm just bringing it up because I've just become aware of it. So you'll see there's some fencing up around one of the shop front windows. MGS, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Councillor McLaren. But we do, obviously, from what I'm hearing from the manager, is that we have not received an incident report to your knowledge.
Yeah, that's correct. I certainly
Thank you.
haven't seen anything.
So, Councillor McLaren, if you'd like to, because it is important, councillors, and for all of the networks and communities members that we talk to, we do need to, it's important obviously that they share with us as well, but they also need to, and if they need our help to go through the process to report it, because there has to be incidents reports filled out, so therefore at least, the team are aware of it. To have that documented is so important. So thanks, Councillor McLaren, and I don't think it'd be too late to have that reported either in terms of an incident report, Mr Manager. Okay, thank you. Anything further, Councillor McLaren? No, thank you. The Deputy Mayor, business without notice.
No business without notice.
Thank you. I'll go to Councillor Smith.
The only thing I could think of is after that bit of rain, there's quite a few catheads, carkey weed, bit of prickly pear still on around the roads. Somebody might be able to just twig someone to encourage them to go and do a bit of spraying. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Smith. I would think that our man's on the job in that space.
Yes, and our staff as well.
And our staff, excellent. Thank you. Would you like to talk, the Works Manager, would you like to talk into the Councillor Smith's? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Staff's been doing weed spraying since probably last 4 days, but it's a lot of area to cover. So we done urban area and also they're doing a rural area now.
Excellent. Thank you very much. You happy, Councillor Smith?
Yes,
Yep.
thank you.
Thanks very much, and thank the Works Manager. Now we go to Councillor Judd, business without notice.
Yeah, nothing this stage, thank you.
Nothing? Thank you. Councillor Slay.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The next edition of Coffee with a Councillor will be held outside Living and Giving on Saturday the 29th of February. And so, and there's a note going into, or already in, Narrabri News, simply saying that if you've got any thoughts you would like to share with people as part of communication with the council, particularly regarding budget, then feel free to come along and have a bit of a chat. Councillor Judd and I will be meeting there on Saturday the 29th. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Slay, and thank you and Councillor Judd for giving up time to take up that other opportunity to reach out to our community. So thank you. Nothing further, Councillor Slay? No, thank you. Councillors, I just had to let you know that the General Manager and I will be in Sydney, obviously not only next week, on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but also...
No, Wednesday, Thursday.
Wednesday and Thursday, I beg your pardon, but also the Country Mayors is on the 5th and 6th of March, and also the Boundaries Commission will be just having a meeting to catch up. As you know, that the submissions closed in relation to the Snowy Valleys and Cootamundra Gundagai demerger proposals, whether it should be referred to the Boundaries Commission. Understand there have been an amazing amount of submissions received from the Cootamundra Gundagai local government area, and the Minister is still going through those, so the Commission, the Minister hasn't made a decision yet, obviously, but the Commission just want to get together just in case something may happen. So we thought instead of a separate trip that might as well while we're down there at that time, so that'll work in nicely. So I do think it's important that we keep in mind our dear friends, particularly at Cootamundra Gundagai, as members of our Riverina JO and Rerock family, but also Snowy Valleys. Even there yesterday with the General Manager, it was interesting talking to many that were thinking that the status quo is great, but obviously there are many that think otherwise. Remember, we were in Tumut too. So anyway, councillors, I just think, you know, it doesn't take much to remind us of how blessed we are to be Temora Shire Council, and I think what's going on, it certainly reminds us further. And the other thing, I want to commend the Works Manager and our team on our entrance trees. I was so thrilled when Council approved that as one of the Stronger Country Communities projects, and to see those trees so well advanced, and obviously, yes, there's water being put on them a great deal, but if you could pass on, Mr. Manager, to your team, our very warm thanks, because they already look great, and I know they'll only get better in years to come. So thank you so much for that. And that's all I had, councillors, with no further business without notice. If not, I'd like a motion receiving our information paper, please. Councillor Oliver, the Deputy Mayor, moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, any items out of the information paper that you wish to draw to Council's attention? Good to see that our ranger on page 256 is checking on illegal parking. I know that's always a tricky one, but at the same time, it's good to see us on the ball there. Anything else, councillors? If not, in accordance with Section 10A of the Local Government Act 1993, I advise that there are several matters that are deemed confidential, and accordingly I require a motion to have those matters considered. Please. Councillor Reinhold. Thank you. Councillor Winkie. Thank you. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. We are in closed session. We thank our media officer, Mrs. Grant, and Mr. Thank you, councillors. We resume into open council, and I advise the meeting that council has brought forward from closed session the following confidential motions. Resolution 37/2020, moved Councillor Smith, seconded Councillor Judd. It was resolved to adopt report 4.1, resolution of the committee, and that was carried. Resolution 38/2020, on the motion of Councillor McLaren and seconded Councillor Slay, it was resolved that the matter in relation to the caravan park be deferred to after Warbirds, and this also applies to report 18.10. Resolution 39/2020, on the motion of the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Winkie, it was resolved that the remainder of the report and recommendations be adopted, and that motion was carried. In relation to the Economic Development and Visitations Committee meeting, the resolution 41/2020, on the motion of the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, seconded Councillor Slade, resolved that the reports and recommendations as presented be adopted, and that was carried. The resolution 42/2020, on the motion of Councillor Oliver, seconded Councillor McLaren, it was resolved that council support the project and allocate the proposed grant funds to delivering the project under round 2 the Drought Communities Program. That is in relation to the Storm Water Detention Basin Development Report. Next, the proposed order to demolish 31 Coolaman Street Area Park, resolution 43/2020, on the motion of the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, seconded Councillor Judd. It was resolved that council issue an order on the owner of 31 Coolaman Street Area Park to A, demolish and remove timber frame weatherboard and fibro-clad dwelling, B, remove all cars, scrap metal, building material and any other piles of material from that site, and C, that the period of compliance be set at 90 days, and further that council indicate that it is prepared to enact the order if the terms are not complied with all costs incurred to be raised as a debt against the property, and that motion was carried. Area Park, large lot residential land, resolution 44/2020, moved Councillor McLaren and seconded by Councillor Winkie. It was resolved that council support the preparation of a planning proposal in accordance with the recommendations contained within the report, and that was carried. The next resolution, Temora Arts and Creativity Centre, resolution 45/2020, on the motion of Councillor Winkie and seconded Councillor Slay. It was resolved that Council 1 endorse the concept plans prepared for the Temora Arts and Creativity Centre, and 2, prepare a grant application to seek the funding to commence stage 1 of the project, and that resolution was carried. The next one, Waste Management Potential Litigation, resolution 46/2020, on the motion of the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, and seconded Councillor Slay. It was resolved that council pays a without prejudice payment of $877.32 from the Waste Management Reserve Fund for repairs to the vehicle, and further, that council requests council's risk officer to audit daily procedures and institute a more formal means of identifying and addressing hazards, and that resolution was carried. Growing Local Economies Application, resolution 47/2020, on the motion of Councillor Oliver and seconded Councillor Winkie, it was resolved that council support the concept plans and cost estimates associated with application under the Growing Local Economies Fund, and that resolution was also carried. Temora Ambulance Museum, naming of building, the resolution 48/2020, on the motion of Councillor Smith and seconded Councillor Oliver, it was resolved that council names the Ambulance Museum building as per the suggested name, and that resolution was carried. So councillors, I now require a motion to have those confidential motions formally adopted. Councillor Slay, Councillor Smith, moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, very busy time in closed session. Is there any further business for council prior to closing the meeting? Councillor McLaren. Sorry, Councillor McLaren, yes.
I just wanted to highlight the Moses and Son 100-year celebration on the 14th of September. It's not often that businesses in the agricultural industry survive 100 years in the ebbs and flows of rural life, and I wanted to support this celebration and just pass on the information, really.
Thanks, Councillor McLaren. I'm glad you did, and I think council are pleased that you've drawn that to our attention. That is a great achievement, and I think probably many of us or our forefathers have had involvement with Moses and Son. It's an outstanding achievement, and we warmly congratulate them. And I know that all of us have been extended an invitation. I know that some of us have other commitments. However, I know that we will be sending a letter formally. However, perhaps maybe one from council by way of resolution, as I deem this urgent, may be very appropriate. So, Councillor McLaren, would you like to move that direction?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Thank you. Second, Councillor Slay, moved and seconded. Further discussion? If not, I'll put that motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare that motion carried. Thanks, Councillor McLaren. Is there anything further? If not, councillors, senior staff, thank you very much for your attendance, your input, and I declare the meeting closed. Thank you.